Hello everybody, welcome to episode 11 of the ForgeServ Let's Play. So today I've got some fun plans for alternative means of energy production, something that isn't just solar panels for the daylight production. So you see here I'm going to go ahead and throw in a basic control circuit crafting recipe for the machinery here, on machine crafting, and go ahead and get the pattern put in for some wind generators. The wind generators are pretty great because they work anytime, anywhere. They work better in the rain, but they work pretty much all the time. So we're going to go ahead and get 12 of those crafting, and in the meantime, I'm going to get a power cell. Now, I actually don't know what I was thinking here. I needed 2 of these, so you'll see here in a few minutes. I'll have to go back and craft another one, which was my own fault. But we're going to grab some power cell link cards as well, because those things are very, very useful. So now my 12 wind generators are done. Easy peasy. We're going to grab some energy conduit, and I set up some auto crafting for basically all of the important kinds of conduits from Ender.io off camera. So we can go ahead and get these requested. I'm going to go and do 24. They craft in multiples of 8. And I actually ended up needing even more than this, but I crafted a lot of them off camera. So like I said, I'm going to need another power cell and power cell card. I'm not sure really what I was planning on. But let's go ahead and get the power cell on the receiving side down. I'll put it here for now. I actually decided to move this later on. I'm not sure why, but the conduits just were not really doing it very good justice here. So we're going to make sure the power cell card is set up properly. Both of these link to ID2. And I want to move that power cell back a block just into the wall once I get it to output mode. So now that everything looks to be in good shape, let's just toss that where it belongs and go on and make a chunk loader real quick. Now that we have the chunk loader, let's go find a place to put these wind generators. So obviously they work better the higher up you go. I think the max you can get out of them is about 220 RF per tick if you put them up at nearly skyblock level. It's just a matter of how you decide you want to do it. I like builds to look nice, so while I could do a floating platform at Y level, 250 or so, because you have to consider they're a few blocks tall, I'm just going to choose the top of this mountain over by where I've been quarrying lately. Just because there's, a nice little mountain. It'll look relatively natural. And it's at about Y level 128, so that'll still get me a good 100 or so RF per tick per each one of these, approximately. So I've got the game volume lowered here because these were extremely loud. That's another reason why I wanted to put these kind of off in the distance. So we'll go ahead and put these down. If you remember, I auto-crafted 12 of them. I still have 2 more to put down, so we'll go ahead and try to kind of find a place to put them. Doing some kind of terrible looking scaffolding here because I'm just trying to get the shape built out. I did a lot of terraforming to make sure this all looked good in the end, because I know right now it looks pretty awful. But once we get some of this stuff done, it'll look a little better, I think. So we'll go ahead and get some energy conduits placed down, but I'm going to place the rest of them off camera and pretty this thing off camera, and that way you don't have to sit here and be bored by it. Alright, so now that the conduits are placed down, we've got some conduit facades covering the entry points, because I wanted to do just a simple stone, brick, and plank sort of border, I suppose, or platform. I guess platform would be a better term. So we'll go ahead and get the stone brick lines down. I'm really loving this place line spell that I found on the Size Spell Compendium subreddit. It's a very useful subreddit if you're not familiar. I know how to program. I'm actually a modder myself. I know how to do it. I just... Sometimes redoing size spells gets really irritating, and I don't know. It's not really one of my fortes, is redoing, or doing and learning the Psi programming style. It's not really something that I like to sit down and think about for too long. So I'm just about done with this nice oak platform. And once we get it done, we're actually making some pretty decent RF off of this. So that's just about the end product. I did some terraforming off camera, but I'm going to go ahead and move this power cell off of these conduits and directly into our vibrant capacitor bank multi-block here. Doing this, you're going to see there's a big energy buffer right now in the conduits and in the actual power cell, so it's showing that there's a little bit, about 9,250 or so RF per tick. That's not actually how much I'm producing, that's just all conduit buffer and power cell buffer. So I'm going to just sit here and wait for it to cool down a little bit, empty out the buffer to see what we're actually producing, which is still a pretty impressive amount considering it's passively generated. About 590 to 600 RF per tick is what we're getting right now. But for the rest of the video, I want to take the time to make some overclocker upgrades for my IC2 machines and actually get these kind of up to a useful spec, because right now, at the speed that they're at, they're not really particularly useful to us. Um, you know, there are a few things, but there's not really much at IC2 that I need right now anyways, so I feel kind of, I don't know, IC2 is one of those things that I could honestly live without, but I want to have it and use it anyway, so overclockers give me something to use my resources on, so I might as well get started. So I'm going to put down a dedicated fluid solid canning machine here for auto water refill, because sometimes you'll need that for construction foam, but sometimes you'll need one that's empty or that you can change around. So this one is always going to be filled with water, and the one that's next to it, or kind of diagonal to it, that one will stay empty for manual filling of fluids or items or whatever you please. So we're going to get a reservoir down, fill it up with the 2 sources of water that it requires. And this will provide our fluid solid canning machine here, this one, with infinite water once we get the fluid conduits up to it. So I'm also trying to decide how I want to wire this so that it looks kind of nice. I wouldn't really want to cover that corner with cables because there's not actually any machinery that's going to go there. So that's why I went to the effort of actually digging down a level and using 2 extra cables to make it at a level low enough that I could still put a cover over that area. I know I could use construction foam and an obscurator, but this is just easier. So now that this is set to enrich, we can test to make sure. Yep, that looks like it'll work with lapis. Excellent. And so now that I have enough lapis and a few universal fluid cells, we can fill the fluid cells directly with the water and the lapis. And this is the inefficient way of making coolant. You can actually use, I believe it's distilled water and 1 lapis dust. But I'm going to grab 18 universal fluid cells because I want to use the most efficient recipe possible for making overclocker upgrades. It uses 60k coolant cells, which I'll go ahead and start crafting up here. It starts from 10 to 30 to 60. The 60k coolant cell recipe is nice because it requires only 1 electronic circuit in the end anyway, so it actually saves you on several electronic circuits. And so there you go, the recipe crafts 12. Now that I've got the 12 down, I put them in some of my machines, and I figured I'd keep the entire crafting cycle for this part of the video on. Since the machines are a little faster, I did fast forward the footage still, but it's definitely not quite as miserably slow with our machines actually properly sped up a little bit. So in the future, I'm going to go through and kind of change around how power is going to work in these machines too, because the power delivery system isn't quite efficient enough to keep up with as many overclockers as I would like to have. So it might not be a bad idea to get some transformer upgrades, maybe get some higher voltage power to them, and obviously also eventually improve my power production setup because I'm using a single geothermal generator right now. And geothermal generators are by no means a bad system, but I've only got 1. So I think in the future I'm going to be upgrading to several geothermal generators. I know there are better systems you could do. I could do solar panels. I could do some of the new kinetic generators or windmills or kinetic wind generators and such. But I'm honestly not really using IC2 enough to validate all the effort that it takes to do something like that when the lava generator or lava seems to be working pretty well right now, especially ever since I changed my nether pump from the IC2 pump I was using previously into the Mekanism pump that I am now using alongside a Stirling generator with a bucket setup. So we've got the last few overclockers set up, and I think I'm going to go ahead and distribute them relatively evenly amongst my machines here. So I think that's coming up to a close on this episode. I do apologize that the frequency of these episodes have been a little bit spotty. I'm moved into the new apartment, but I've been working a lot lately, and work has been draining me pretty substantially as far as how much energy I have left over at the end of the day. So I've kind of just been putting these videos together as I can. Today happens to be an off day, so I'll go ahead and try to get a buffer up. But I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Hopefully the next one won't be too late. And take it easy. I'll see you guys next time.